Welcome to the Project Management Prepcast, your guide to PMP exam success. Here's your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner.
Hello and welcome back to the Project Management Prepcast and part 2 in our lesson on the Develop Project Team process. In part 1 you got a general overview, look at the inputs, and we discussed the first 2 tools and techniques. We're now going to finish off the tools and techniques. We're looking at things like team building, recognition and rewards, ground rules, and other ways that you as a project manager can develop your team. We'll look at the outputs as well and give you a review at the end. We continue with team building activities, and like I mentioned in part 1, these can be as simple as doing something small at your team meeting or something big, like a canoe trip down the Grand Canyon. But why on earth do we need to do these kind of activities? Isn't it enough if we develop a good working relationship and just get the job done after that? Herein lies the key. How do you develop a good relationship with your co-workers? Well, you do that by getting to know a person, by talking to them informally about their family, hobbies, and their life. You build a personal and working relationship by getting to know your colleagues. That is where a team building activity will help. Such activities are usually simple if your team is co-located, but it gets really difficult when they are in different time zones and countries. Here you will need a good team building strategy and possibly even support from a professional. And here are some examples of team building activities for you, beginning with food and refreshments for team meetings. These are particularly useful if you want to encourage people to attend maybe inconvenient or unwelcome meetings. You could do a group lunch. They used to be very common in general. It is best to reserve this for special celebrations. Or after work drinks, meals, and so on. A majority of project team members may enjoy the socializing coming along, even if they are not interested in drinking or staying late with the team. You could attend a cultural event, clubs, dancing, theaters, and so on. Typically, such events, they appeal to a minority on your team. So try to choose something which will be interesting to most and tolerable to everyone. You could do a day trip, often most effective if achieving a serious business goal as well as having fun. For example, take the team to an away day at a pleasant location to hold an event, such as a briefing, a training, a symposium, a think tank, and so on. Or you could just go out and play. Here we mean activities like go-karts, paintball, climbing, racing cars, driving off-road vehicles. You can go parachuting, bungee jumping, depending, of course, on your personal risk attitude. Or you could be unconventional and go to a murder mystery theater, or invite everybody out for a night of karaoke singing. You could do some community or charity work. Here you could go clean up a canal, paint the Boy Scout hut, coach at the local school, or go serve food at a local soup kitchen, which is what my company always sponsored me to do. And finally, training can be fun as well as serving a more serious purpose. Investment in training also emphasizes the importance and value you place on the team members. To me personally, the ground rules, sort of the team's code of conduct, are an important tool and technique. The PMBOK guide does not qualify and say which ones of these tools and techniques are more important than others, but to me, this one here, the ground rules, ranks right at the top. So here is what ground rules do. They define how people on the team interact with each other. They answer questions like, how do we behave with each other? What do you expect of me? What can I expect of you? And what values are important to us? They will also increase productivity because you know what to expect. By defining, documenting, and discussing these ground rules early on in the project, you can avoid conflict between team members, and it allows us to learn from and about each other. Ground rules are expectations regarding acceptable behavior by all project team members. The good news about ground rules is that it's not just the project manager's job to enforce them. It's the responsibility of everyone on the project to stand up and remind people of the ground rules if they are being ignored and broken. Co-location, our next tool and technique, is an organizational placement strategy where the project team members are physically located close to one another in order to improve communication, working relationships, and productivity. Let's say you have a team of 10 people that is dispersed throughout 10 major cities in the world, and you also have a team of 10 people who work in the same building, say in Seattle. Which team do you think will feel more like a community? Definitely the team that is co-located in Seattle. But co-location doesn't have to mean that the team is co-located 100% of the time. In the situation where you have your 10 specialists all over the world, it may be advantageous to co-locate them for strategic milestones on the project, maybe for the kickoff meeting, and then again later on to discuss the project plan and so on. But the time that they can indeed spend together is of course dictated by the distance between them and also by the cost of bringing them together. However, even if your team is in the same building, well, they may still be on different floors. In this case, you may want to consider what is called a war room. Get a hold of a meeting room and reserve that room for the entire time of your project. That way, you can put up project plans on the walls, photos, drawings, etc., and all project meetings are held in that one room. This is also considered a form of co-location. When we talk about recognition and reward as a tool and technique, we have to specify that we only want to reward people who exhibit desired behavior. For instance, working overtime is a good thing if it helps the project to finish on time and should be recognized and rewarded. However, not doing your job for 5 weeks and then working overtime in the last 2 weeks in order to make up the time lost and meet the deadline, well, that's not desired behavior. Rewards are also tricky when it comes to team building. For instance, naming someone the project team member of the month means that he is the winner this month and everyone else loses. This may not be good for team morale. Similarly, in Asian cultures where the group is more important than the individual, it's better to recognize the whole team for a success, even if it was dependent on just one person. And because of that, we have just learned that the cultural differences must be taken into consideration when you look at recognition and rewards. Next, we have a list for you here of rewards that you can apply that are not going to cost you a single penny, but that are going to be helpful for the team member, the team, and the project as a whole. First of all, use public praise for your team members. You know this one, yet many team leaders find it hard to do in the moment. Stand up and congratulate somebody for a job well done in front of the whole group. Increase team member visibility. Write an article about their contribution. Send a group email. Let your CEO know or announce it during a staff meeting. Provide information. Employees crave accurate information, so communicate often and early. It will stop potential rumors and increase their trust in the project's direction. You can also increase team member involvement as a reward. Create ways to solicit individual opinions on issues facing your organization, your project. Delegate challenging and interesting work. Create opportunities for the individual to work on a special area of your project, a plum assignment that encourages their professional development. Another simple reward, no-cost reward, is to give feedback on performance. This may lead to a mentoring relationship, or you want to consciously listen, really listen, consciously practice deeper listening to understand and connect with your team members. Allow flexibility. If it's not critical to customers, can you allow the individual certain freedoms in establishing their own work hours and time off? Recommend independence. Offer in-house training that allows the individual to learn new skills. And lastly, well, play together. Consider lunchtime walks, team stretch breaks, a joke of the day, and so on. Remember, the team that plays together stays together. The focus here is clearly on giving a recognition or reward to individuals or the whole team. The rewards on the previous slides, they come pretty much at no cost. Here is just a small sample of additional ideas that come at low cost to you. You can begin with the recognition box. Keep a box filled with small supplies, cards, colorful post-it notes, paper clips that are funny, stickers, markers, coupons, you name it. You get the idea. And an individual can then select when you observe them doing something great for internal or external customers. There are also corporate rewards. Many companies have an internal reward system for high-performing individuals. Submit your team members for these rewards. There are also certificates of recognition that you can create, awards for individual performance, anything from a good customer interaction to a hidden talent that suddenly came out. You can recognize pretty much anything. And don't forget to celebrate. Acknowledge birthdays, company anniversaries, safety milestones, and production goals. You might begin just by inviting everyone out to lunch. And that takes us to the outputs of the develop project team process. They are the team performance assessments and the updates to the enterprise environmental factors. The big output that we have here is, of course, the team performance assessments. And let me repeat that. It's team performance assessment. It's not team member performance assessments. We're not focusing on the individual member performance here. We are focusing on the performance of the complete team. Here's how. During the course of the project and team development, you will be performing team building exercises, going through training, and the project manager is also applying his or her interpersonal skills. As this happens, both formal and informal assessments of the team are made. You will see how effective your team is. If your team development strategy works, then you will see success. Your team will grow together and succeed in achieving the project objectives. If you see a deficiency, that means that you will have to change your strategy, like sending people to training to improve performance on activities, possibly do cultural awareness training if you have a multicultural team. Develop project team also often includes updates to certain enterprise environmental factors, and I'd like to especially call out personnel administration, employee training records, and of course employee skill assessments. Think about everything that we've talked about in this lesson so far. We're sending people to training, we're coaching them, we're guiding them, we're mentoring them. They're bound to get better, they're bound to improve their skills. So we do have to update their training records and make sure that training is kept track of. Their skills have improved, so we may, if we have a skill assessment database in our company, we may have to update this as well. So it's no surprise that all the activities that we perform in this process to build our team also have an effect on the individual team members, and we need to record that. Let's review. Develop project team is the process of improving competencies, team member interaction, and overall team environment to enhance your project's performance. The idea behind the develop project team process is to improve your team and team member competencies, and you want to enhance their ability to interact with each other. These enhanced interactions are quite beneficial to your project and your project team. The improved competencies and the improved interactions will help your team to increase project performance, which is really what every project manager wants, right? It all boils down to one simple truth. When people feel valued, they will do more valuable work. If you keep this simple truth in mind, the Develop Project Team process will provide great rewards to you and your team and your project. And this concludes part 2 of our look at Develop Project Team. So it's time for Justine to say,
In a while, crocodile.
and it's until next time from me.